So, hello, namaste, namaskar, good afternoon, good morning, or maybe even good evening in whichever part of the world you are joining us from. My name is Deepakar Khemani, and I am one of the co founders of Bloom. Along with Abhijit, another one of our co founders, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to this 256th. Yes, you heard it right. 256th non-stop Sunday Bloom Talk Show. A small effort that started during COVID times, during lockdown, wanting to get people from across the world share their experiences, share their knowledge in helping becoming, make our life becoming just that little bit better. In this journey of 255 episodes already done, we've had people from all across the globe. In fact, we have people from all continents of the world who have represented them and all the continents on this show. Yes, we've had a scientist who was in Antarctica twice. So all the continents have been represented over here. So in this journey, we've had speakers, trainers, coaches, athletes, doctors, nurses, couples, you name them, and they have been here. Continuing that tradition, this Sunday on our 256th episode, we have joining us Jessica Sajan. So it's a topic which we haven't yet, explored or spoken about or, spoken with people, tried to learn, tried to understand. Jessica has quite a extensive CV which I could actually read about who she is, what she does. Instead of me reading out a PDF, what I would do is I would ask Jessica to introduce herself. Jessica, tell us what you do, why do you do it, what made you do what you are doing currently, so all of us can understand, know a little bit more about you.
Sure. Thank you, Deepak. So if you ask me to introduce myself, I think who I am, why I do what I do, I think I need to share it through my story, how it all began. So I met Subramanian, my business partner. We had met at Florida. We were both there to be certified as John Maxwell team members, in fact, founding members, and we co-created Renergetics. Neurogetics is a part of that. But the real story of, like what really sparked, what ignited me to do what I'm doing, it's a very personal story. And it's a story of our life where it involves my husband, Sarjan. He's also here on the call. And so my husband was in the army and a brilliant officer. In fact, some of his co-mates, if they're on this call, will know the kind of reputation, the kind of caliber he has. And in fact, I was from a very civil background, no army background. So when I married into the army, I was told that your husband is going to be a short general. He's brilliant and all of that. And
நிறைய ஆயில்ஸ் இருக்கு பாருங்க வீடியோ போடுமா ஆயில்ஸ்
I can hear some noises. Okay. So along the journey, as he would do a number of courses, he would top the courses. And one of the postings he got after topping one of the courses he did was in Kashmir border. And because of the nature of the work and the stress it involved, it upset his, there were many things that came into play, and it upset his sleep cycle to the point he was not able to sleep for like 3 months. And unfortunately, and at that time, I was expecting my child, my second child. I was in Wellington alone, and he was in Kashmir alone. And when he had the sleep disorder, it was misdiagnosed with a psychiatric disorder, which he absolutely did not have. And unfortunately, he had to go through, like what it means to be in a psychiatric hospital for 6 months, going through a treatment that he did not really deserve. So it was a very, very tough situation for us. And I remember the turning point in my life came one night where, so I had given birth to my daughter, and I was not well that night. There was some infection in my body and I was burning with temperature. I was supposed to have a surgery the next day. And my husband calls me from the hospital. He's also he's reached a point across the threshold. And he calls me and says, Jessie, forgive me. I cannot take this anymore. And that night, I did not keep the phone down. With the crying baby in my hand, my burning body, and all that I was going through, I kept talking and kept talking to make sure that he sees it through the morning. But that night, they say your darkest moments introduces you to your finest self. I found myself and I found my path, my purpose in life. And I made a promise to myself that I'm going to grow so strong, become so capable and equipped that I will not only be there for my husband, but for all people in this world who need hope, whose lives need to be better and they deserve better. So that's where the journey began. And by God's grace, it turned out that the diagnosis of my husband was totally a misdiagnosis. And he found his own, he may not have become a general, he left the army, but he's a shining star in every way. He has created a name and niche for himself in the space of career consulting. And I think whatever happened to us at that turning point is what made us what we are today. And that's what led me to meet Subramanian, my business partner, who's now like a family friend. And we are doing what we do at Renergetics and particularly at Neurogetics, which is something very close to my heart.
Wow. I mean, thank you for sharing that. Let me bring in Abhijit here. Abhijit is our co-founder. And Abhijit, over to you.
Fine. So, can you just dissect this topic very simply? Neurogenetic shift. So it's something, as Deepak said, it's something which we really don't know what it is all about. So how do you achieve that inner shift through neurogetics, and what exactly does that mean?
Sure, Abhijit. So neurogetics is what we have developed over the years from our experience in all that we have done in the space of leadership, in the space of personal transformation and evolution. It leverages neuroscience. It leverages a very advanced level of neuro-linguistic programming, cognitive behavior therapy, and all that. But I think it's a combination of all things, multiple sciences that we have found, we have tried and tested, and we have seen it working consistently. And this covers the scope of neurogetics is not just limited to one area of your life. Where there is life, where there is a problem, where there's a dream, and where there is a gap, neurogetics can fill that gap. I'm just giving you the larger scope of it. So when I say this, I think I need to give you some examples to tell you how powerful and what can be the scope of neurogetics. And then I will come to how it works. Is that fine?
Yeah, fine. Yeah.
Okay, so in neurogetics, we cover a wide range, right from the physical health and vitality, the drive, the emotional health, the mental health, relationships, your career growth, financial freedom. So it's like, all the key areas of human life, we are able to make a difference. So I know there are a lot of people, who say like, we change lives, but I think what we have seen in neurogetics is real life, real changes. And we have so many stories. And, I think if I tell you a few sample of, like what we do through my stories, because I think when we share stories, we are able to connect more than just talking theory. So let me give you some examples of what is possible to neurogetics, and then I will take you through the process that works. And you can ask me questions on that. So let me share. There's a story of a young girl. She was she had this dream to become a doctor. Like she was a brilliant girl. Her aspiration was to be a doctor, and her mother is a doctor herself. And she, because she was so good, and she's from Hyderabad, because she was doing so well in academics, they put her in a coaching center, Chaitanya, in one of those coaching centers. And because she was a topper, they put her in the toppers batch. And in the toppers batch, the competition is so stiff, and it put a lot of pressure on her. And due to the pressure, this girl, her performance started falling. And at the same proportion as the falling performance, the faculties and even the dean started putting even more pressure on her, telling her that she can never become a doctor at this rate. It reached a point where she stopped going to college, stopped going for studying, and she wrote the board exam studying from home for 12th standard. But what was the sad part of it was about 3 weeks before her NEET exam, this girl's mother, who's a doctor, she calls me and she says, my daughter has not slept for 3 weeks. And the mother has given her sleeping pills, being a doctor. And despite the sleeping pills, she's not able to sleep. And the mother was helpless and she asked, can you do something to help us? And I met this girl on a call, a Zoom call like this. And what I could find out, what the diagnosis was that this girl has been installed with a belief that she can never become a doctor because of the words used by the faculties. They meant well. They were pressurizing her so that because they knew she could perform and she could easily get through. So they were using words which went so deep and it messed up her neurology. It messed her belief system. It messed up her self-belief. And it came to a point where there was this part of her which was telling her, you will never become a doctor, because that was installed in her, those words. And another part of her was, it was something that she so much wanted. She was neither able to sleep nor able to study. So in the work we do at Neurogetics, the first thing we do is we check whether a person has been installed with beliefs that are not useful for them. And you'll be surprised. Almost every single person we've worked with have had such installations. It could be words spoken by parents, it could be teachers, but words that have had such a deep impact and have messed up the software inside. And in this particular girl's case, I had to uninstall that installation. And when we uninstall such installation, we have a process, we do that. It is not just something theoretical, it is at a biochemical level. This girl, just after the session we had high fever, 104-degree fever, because of the rewiring that had happened inside her at a neurological level. But after that, when everything resettled, she slept like a baby. And when she wrote the NEET exam, she sent me a message on my WhatsApp. She says, the exam was medium level. It was not very easy. It was okay. But I answered every single question. And she says that there were other children in the hall who were crying, but I had a smile on my face. And I wrote every single question. And today she is on her way to becoming a doctor on merit.
So, as I understand it simply, is it something self-belief software which you insert in the mindset?
That's a very let me put it this way. We all have our software based on our upbringing, like our past experiences, and that software may be limiting us or it may be expanding us. So when we work with people, we understand what is the software inside. Is it sabotaging you? Is it limiting you? Is it actually helping you grow? And we rewire that software. That means there is a particular process we follow where we detect what are those softwares that are not helping, and we uninstall it, and we rewire a new neurology, a new belief system, new patterns of behavior, so that you become the person who is able to have that inner drive and success. You don't have to chase it. In fact, you become the person so that success chases you, not the other way around.
So how typically is this process? How much time would it take, or minimum, is there some lead time, or will it be different for various people depending on which stages of doubt they have in their mind?
It would be different for different people. We have seen cases where we have seen results in just 1 or 2 sessions. And we have seen people who have had very complex issues where people have not been able to get results, but we have been able to do that anywhere from 1 month to 6 months. I'll give you another example of, because I'm trying to help decode the process through the stories I'm sharing. So I'll give you another example.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. There was this army officer, his son was preparing to become an army officer, and he was in there's a training academy in Chennai for short-term service course for the army. So this boy, he was in his final month. He had cleared all his academics, and there was one thing that was holding him back. So it is a very strenuous course, and there is also the physical fitness that he has to clear. And one of the tests was that he had to jump a 9 feet pitch, wearing the entire uniform and all the weapons and everything. Now, the first time when he was practicing, somewhere there was a mental block, and while he was just not able to clear that, and because of that, he may have lost 6 months. He would have lost getting promoted and actually becoming an officer. When he made desperate, because he really wanted to do it, when he desperately tried to make the jump, he ended up with a fracture on both his arms. And because of that, he was not able to clear that. And then he had to wait for his arms to recover from the fracture. And then he was given a last chance to clear this test. Now, he had a very limited time frame. There was just 3-4 days left before the final test, and he had to clear. And his father called me and said that he's not even able to jump half the distance. And despite all the practice, despite all the support. Now, in a case like this, was there motivation? Yes, definitely. He was very driven. In fact, he was very driven to become an army officer and, go out there, join infantry and really get into an action mode and serve the nation. So he was driven. But why was he not able to clear this? So that is where, when we did the diagnostics, the first step of neurogetics work is the diagnostics. So in the diagnostics, what I could understand was, though he was driven, he had an inner conflict. There was a part of his mind at a deep subconscious level that wanted to clear this exam, become an army officer. But there was another part that feared that if he tried to jump and make this leap, what if he broke his arms again? And because of the deep inner conflict, he was not able to let go and make that jump. So what I had to, and in fact, I was traveling at that time, and I was only able to give, I think, 2 sessions for him. But in those 2 sessions, what I worked on was on that inner conflict, so that he was free from that fear of what if I again break my legs, my hands. And I also gave him a sense of certainty. So there is a particular process we follow where we are able to work on the mind to create a sense of a belief imprint, where you believe with certainty that you can do it, so that you don't feel overwhelmed, but you feel the ease and the comfort and the desire to do it. And you're actually able to do that. So those were just 2 sessions you gave. So I gave him. After he had his test, the father sends a message. And the father says, my son had his test today, and he leaped to glory on his first attempt and cleared the jump. And today this boy is an army officer. So when you ask me, how long does it take? It depends on the nature of the complexity of the situation, and also individual to individual.
So, is this purely where there is a mindset issue for everything? So the first was, you gave an example where it was an exam, and the second was also some test, which was something of an exam, where I understand that both had the potential and the talent and the skill, and they were only having a mindset issue.
So I wouldn't call it a mindset issue. It was at a deep belief system level.
The belief issue, but I think this would be on top of, given that the competency would already be there, or is this also helps develop your competency over a period of time?
Definitely, it definitely helps build competence. In fact, when you were talking about mindset issue, if it's only a mindset, let me share with you another example.
Sure.
So there was this 70-year-old man who was paralyzed on one side, left hand and left leg was paralyzed for 5 years. The doctors had tried everything, and he was on physiotherapy, but he was not able to stand up and walk. Now, this may sound incredible, but it's actually a real true story where we flew in to Bangalore where he was. Afternoon, had lunch with his family. When I explored what is the issue with him, what can be done, is it even possible? So that is the way we work at a subconscious level. We are able to communicate with the subconscious part of our system, which is 10,000 times more powerful than our conscious part. And in my communication with the subconscious part of his brain, what I could make out was that he had the capability, but he did not have the belief. But also the left side, because of not being used for that many years, had become very weak. The muscles had become very weak. In his case, I had to give a number of installations, stories of installations, to instill in him the belief that he can move his left side and left part of his body. And then there was a process that we did where I actually told the left side of his body, the muscles, to mirror the right side, because the right side could move. And it is a process, it's a neurogetics process that we follow. And by 4:30 that evening, this person was able to get up and walk.
Oh.
Yeah.
So if you the moot point is, if there is a will, obviously anybody can do it with the right belief system installed. The faith or the hope.
Belief system is one part of it, but the neurological rewiring is another very important part, which is at the core of what we do at Neurogetics. So that's also the name, Neurogetics. It's all about the neurological rewiring. And that rewiring can be anything. It could be patterns. It could be something that is limiting you. So typically when somebody comes to us, there are two parts. One is the cleanup, where we clean up all the things that are holding the person back. And second is the build-up. We build the capabilities people need to be able to achieve what they want to achieve.
So how would a layman know whether he's actually truly wired or he needs to be rewired? So maybe something like me or Deepak, if we come in as, are we correctly wired?
See, we are all on a journey of evolution, right? Like we have come a long way, and there is always scope from going from where we are to our next level. There's no expiry date for that evolution, right? So when you ask, are you both already rewired and do you need further rewiring? It's like you have come a long way where you are. But there's something, like we can get to our next level. And when we say next level, it need not necessarily be in the space of just mindsets. Let me give you an example of a CEO of a company. Okay, Abhijit, this person, from scratch, he built himself up. And he became the CEO of an MNC. And he was a person who can work 24 hours a day. That's the kind of level he was working. And when he saw us somewhere on some social media, he connected with us and said, I don't know, something like what you're saying, like, I don't know but I'm just, like, he just connected to see. He says, I don't think I have real problems, but I just want to know if there's anything you see. Because he's a high performer, he's doing excellent, outstanding in his profession. He's a role model, he's an inspiration. But somewhere inside him, he felt something was missing, but he couldn't figure out what it was. And when we had our consultation with him, we found that he had been installed in his childhood days by his mother, saying that you cannot afford to fail. And so he would do everything it took for him to, take off like a rocket to propel himself. But what it cost him was his family, his health. He was not able to be in the moment, when he's working, he's a workaholic. So in his case, the rewiring that he needed was, first of all, to uninstall that installation that, you cannot afford to fail. And we worked with him for 1.5 days. And after that, I think it was 2-3 weeks later, when we had a review with him, he says that he had also got into a lot of alcoholism. He said he has stopped that completely. He spends quality time with his family, and he's able to do much more in much less time. So that was the rewiring that he needed. So every one of us does need rewiring in some way or the other.
Yeah, I had to come in over here when Abhijit says wired and rewiring. I'm using wireless earphones and the mic, so it's all wireless now. I can see Subbu smiling, so yeah, it had to come.
So my last question before the wireless Deepak takes over is a lot of as a chartered accountant, I interact with a lot of CA students, and there are about 9 lakh CA students, and maybe a couple of lakhs would be giving this exam every year. Maybe now it's thrice from twice, but each one of them have that anxiety, the stress, the pressure, because the stakes are very high.
Yeah.
And I believe each one of them at certain point of time is suffering from a self-doubt, and maybe you just can't fail. It's because there's an opportunity loss, you lose 6 months, maybe the income, the financial pressures are there. So how does one benefit from maybe I'm talking at a mass level from attending any of your sessions or workshops?
Yeah, so Abhijit, what is unique about Neurogetics is we do not we look at each individual as unique because it is we are a human system. Now, two people may seem to be performing at the same level, having the same issues, same challenges, but they have a very unique system, this unique ecosystem, a unique system. And we say, like, we humans are a system. So when we meet, that is also something what we do at Neurogetics. We don't do mass work. We work with, of course, in fact,
individual.
We work with individuals. Of course, we have given talks with a larger group, so where we can pass on some value. But if you're asking me specifically, how can we help people? Of course, we can create awareness and all that, but at a bigger chunk level, like the state of mind and the emotional resilience are very, very important. This is when you're talking about performance. I have seen a student who was writing his board exam, who was in class 12. In the pre-boards, he would go to the exam hall and he would just blank out, and he would just put his head on the table and return a blank paper. And his mother was a teacher in the same school. And when she approached me and said, "This boy is brilliant, I know, but he's just not able to perform at the exam." So in his case, it was not that he did not have the knowledge or the competency, but it was the anxiety that was causing a blank out in him. So in his case, it was a simple thing. I just had to help him have state choice so that when he goes to write his exam, he's in a peak performance state. So when you're talking about students, for example, state choice is definitely one thing that is very, very important, and that we can help at a more, like bigger group level. But there will, of course, be,
What's the earliest age at which somebody should ideally come in? I believe this should be done as early as possible.
I have worked with children of 6 years old, and I worked with CEOs, CXOs. So it's like the age, it doesn't necessarily, age is not an issue. In fact, we work a lot with the subconscious mind because, and even when a baby is sleeping and when we communicate with the baby, the subconscious will respond to us with signals. And
so while I agree, it's never too late to get rewired or never too early to start wiring. Is there something of an AMC we need to do every year, or what's the period?
I like your questions, Abhijit. See, it's like this. Our life it's very dynamic. Nothing is static, right? Like things change. Our ecosystem, where we are, our aspirations. So what I would say is, so some of the things that we do, we layer it in such a way that the changes become permanent. We're able to sustain. It's like, like suppose you're making an expressway. It's not just one layer, right? You layer multiple layers so that you have a roadway that lasts long term. In the work we do, we rewire the neurology, we make changes at a belief system at the patterns that are limiting you. We build capabilities of having state choices. All of that, when you add up, then they last long term. And the annual maintenance would be more of, okay, from where you are, you come to a new place. Now from here, what do you want to do? So that is where you will want to rewire again.
Sure. Thanks. Thanks.
Jessica, I have a question if you have the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Jankar.
Yes, Jankar.
I'm behind the scene.
Sure.
So Jessica, I also joined a little later, but quite close to this subject of yours.
Sure.
Of course, things are working, and I can see a teenager getting out of his beliefs of not able to perform, being anxious about it. I heard about a CEO who was quite imbalanced in his wellness part of it, have got back to the normal track, etc. A simple question: give us and very importantly, the sustainability part of it,
Sure.
because this cannot be a one-time solution to change the belief systems that we have been harboring for years on end. Having said that, can you share at least one doable solution, let's say for a child who was having an anxiety attack at the right or the wrong time, at the right time during the exams?
Okay.
And how did he sustain that to become a successful boy?
So Jankar, your question, I would like to address it a little differently. If you're helping a child with anxiety attack in a particular context of writing the exam, so the scope of work, if somebody comes to me and says, like, help this child be able to overcome the anxiety in the exams. So that is a state choice which we build. But your question of you have to sustain it long term, then I will have to look at it in a very systemic way. When I say systemic, where is this child? How is the ecosystem? For example, in a child's ecosystem, the parents play a very important role, especially teenagers. The relationship that is at home, the relationship where sometimes the parents mean well, but they use words that can impact the child and become installations that have a negative impact. So when I look at a long-term sustainable result, I don't just look at, okay, passing the exam or, like being able to perform them. In that case, if that is the scope of the work, then we look at all aspects. We look at where the child is, what are the capabilities and competencies the child has, what is the resilience the child has, what are the state choices the child has. Because see, in life, there will always be challenges. It's not that challenges will not be there, but how equipped is this child to face future challenges? What is the resilience? How well is a child able to bounce back, even if he falls? These are the capabilities that we build, so that then they're able to sustain long-term, no matter what challenges come. So we have to look at it in a very systemic way. In those cases, it's not a one-time solution.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Deepak.
Thank you, Jankar, for asking that question. And my first question to you, even before we go into neurogetics and how things change, you gave these two examples, Jessica, of one, your husband, and the other child who, couldn't sleep for a few days and even probably weeks. You said that we are all biochemical, the body is continuously, multiple chemical reactions are happening. By default, normally after a 12, 15, 18-hour day, you are supposed to rest and go to sleep. What changes in people like this that doesn't allow them to not sleep, for so many days and weeks together?
Are you talking about somebody who's driven or somebody who's just burning out?
No, clearly burning out. You gave that example of the student who couldn't give the exam, who wanted to become the doctor and he hadn't had sleep.
Yes.
And I'm saying, what makes the body not go into sleep mode?
Okay, so if you're by the same example of this young girl, the reason her body was not allowing her to sleep was because, like I said, installations. So installations are something so powerful. It can actually, they're like viruses that enter your system and can really corrupt this entire system. In her case, the words by professors were supposed to be lifting her, but words that were crushing her had gone so deep that had become installation at a neurobiochemical level. So in that case, what was happening was there were, at a deep subconscious level, there were two parts in deep conflict. One part was asking her to just keep going, pushing herself, but another part was pulling her back. And that conflict, it's like, like you're driving uphill a car with the handbrake on. What will you do to the engine?
So, I mean, even though I understand the concept of a virus here, something that was deeply, probably psychosomatic, for want of a better word, is actually interfering with the chemical reactions of the body. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the way it goes.
See,
So yeah.
I'll give you another example of
Yes.
the reason I'm wanting to emphasize about installations is because I see
Yeah.
we have a number of people here, and what I want them to take back, if like there's one thing I want our viewers to take back is, words have power, the words we
Yeah.
use.
Yes.
And whether it is with our family, our spouse, our children, our colleagues, wherever we are, we need to be so careful because we all have that power to crush somebody else. And I'm not just talking about a temporary hurt. I'm talking about something that goes so deep and becomes an installation. Okay, so yeah, let me give you another example. This is of a businessman in Dubai. He's already doing well. He was from IIT. He's brilliant. He's doing really well. I mean, he's doing well, but he is not allowing himself to grow from a certain level. Now, otherwise he seems fine, but when we did our diagnostics, what we uncovered was the mother unwittingly had told him that easy money will not stay. You must work very hard. And so when he had the opportunity to grow and multiply his wealth, that was easy money in his head. The software inside was corrupted, and he was coming in his own way. And when we identified this and we uninstalled and we gave him, and then he also had the fear of what if I fail, because his parents, they were on top and they had a big crash. So those fears he had carried with him. So the fear of taking risks. So when we cleared all those roadblocks right from the installation, the fears, and instilled in him the belief of what is possible for him, he has expanded his business. Earlier, he was only in Dubai. He's now he's got a global business. Right now, I think he's in Japan or somewhere. He's expanded. And the way he has grown, it's at another level, exponential growth.
So, neurogetics, how different or how complementary it is to traditional neuroscience? So, is it this plus this and then something else comes out, or something totally different from what we've grown up or thought about neuroscience traditionally?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
Okay, you say that this is neurogetics, correct? It's trademark. That is what you are doing. I'm saying how different it is from traditional neuroscience as we've understood it. As doctors understand it. You gave us that example of your husband being misdiagnosed as a psychiatric problem instead of something which was wrong somewhere else. So I'm saying, how are you different from traditional neuroscience?
Okay, well, let me answer you with an example. So we also have collaborated with a neuroscientist. Okay, so what the neuroscientist does is when somebody has a problem, they do the diagnostics and then they put the neurobiofeedback, the equipment, and they stimulate the brain. It could be some video games, and there's a reward as you do what is the expected behavior. And they attend a number of sessions. I think they need to attend at least 10 sessions of that. And then they again do a test to see what has changed, the neuroplasticity that is formed. So the work that we do, we don't use a machine, but we are able to create that same change, the same neuroplasticity, which we have validated, but through the neurogetics way, without using the equipment.
At any level, is medication used? I mean, as a treatment or as a solution?
Deepak, in fact, we have helped people wean out of medication. There are two cases that stand out for me. There was one case of a young man from his class 10. He had some issues, he went to depression, and the parents immediately took him to a psychiatrist. And his journey from then till he was 28 years was from one psychiatrist to another. And he was totally messed up. The last psychiatrist in Mumbai, a renowned person, put him on 6 sessions of electric shock. And he had completely lost hope and faith in life. And that's when they came to us. In the work that we did, in over a period of 3 to 4 months, we were able to completely help him come out of the medication, all the psychiatric issues. And in fact, this happened about 4 years back, this particular episode. And I got a message on LinkedIn recently by the same person saying that he was not working till he was 28 years. He was not able to actually work. He was like he said that he's working a corporate job, like he's like doing well and no medications, and he's in a happy place. So definitely we want to help people wean out of medication. There was another case, an extreme case of a young girl who, she was a data scientist, and she had a relationship breakup. She got messed up, went and met a psychiatrist, and over 3 years, the dosages increased to a point where she was having a handful of medication of 600, 700 mg of psychiatric medication. And the psychiatrist finally told her that yours is a hopeless case. I mean, this is what she told me. And you have to take this medication long term. And when this girl heard this, she felt like life is hopeless. She was only 25 years old. She decided to end her life. But it just happened that her fiance got to know about us through his business partner, whom I had helped. And he said, if anybody can help you, it is this Jessica and the Neurogetics team. Reach out to them. And she reached out. We had a conversation. I asked her, what do you want from me? She says, can you give me 5 minutes of peace? We worked on her. In 6 months, she was completely off her medication. And she's happily married now. In fact, the last session after we had together, we were in Kerala in Chirai Beach, and Subramanian and I were there with her. And she says, I asked you for 5 minutes of peace. You're giving me a return ticket to life.
I mean, this is so wonderful to hear. But where would you put yourself as far as, treatments are concerned? So there is traditional medicine, there is alternate therapies, then there is psychiatry, and then there is psychology. Where would you put yourself in, or is it a combination of almost all of these?
It is a combination
disciplines?
of almost all different multidisciplines except medication.
Except medication. So basically, you will never be giving out medication or prescribing anything. Even if you had, a doctor with you, you are actually doing exactly the reverse. You are actually wanting to take medicines out of the picture, right?
Right. In fact, we work collaborating with doctors to help people come out of the dependency on medication.
Now, since you mentioned that you are working with doctors, for a doctor to prescribe a sleeping tablet or anything like a tranquilizer to anybody, giving out symptoms like the ones you mentioned, that is the easiest part. Go take this and then, get your. At what point does a person who is, suffering from this problem realize that, no, medicines are not working, or this is not the place I need to be, I need to go somewhere else? So how does that clarity come into the mind of some person like that?
See, it is for them to hear about us and come to us and get the clarity.
What I was trying to say is you should probably be shouting on top of the roof and saying, this is what we do and this is how we can help you.
In fact, Deepak, most of our work, we get it through word of mouth. People have experienced the power of it, and then they bring in more people.
Yeah.
There was one particular question I saw on chat
Yeah.
about general
Go ahead.
money.
Please take it.
That was an interesting question.
Yeah.
He asked, do you have any case study of where you have failed?
Yeah, please.
Okay, and what I want to answer is, it's also related to one of the questions Abhijit asked, I think, like, about sustainability.
Yeah.
So sometimes in my earlier years in the work that we did in Neurogetics, I was very keen to help people. Like, for example, there was somebody who came saying that help me come out of an addiction of, like he had an addiction for smoking
Hmm.
and drinking and substance abuse. So he said, I just want to come out of this. And I was very eager to help that person. And we did a process where he was able to come out of it for some time. But then he went back to it. Why? Because the human system, there are so many factors that come into play. And for this person, the addictions that we had was actually like, it was a stress buster. Unless we address the core issue, this will not last. So now with the experience we have gained, if somebody comes and says like, help me out with this addiction, I'll first do the diagnostics and understand what is the whole ecosystem of this person. Why is he doing what he's doing? And what must happen for him to be able to have that resilience and coping mechanisms so that he can sustain long term. Now, that said, there was another case of a client in Dubai, an executive, a brilliant guy, and he was totally into alcoholism. He had come to India and he had been in the rehab, went through a strenuous program there, came back and then again restarted. So when he came to us and said, like, if you can help me with just this part, I said, no, we cannot do that. We had to do the, like really understand what is making him do what he's doing and what coping mechanisms he needs. Where should he shift his energy and focus so that he has the energy and drive to channelize his energy into something that will be useful. And we also did a particular process. Now, this is one of the neurogetics process we did where we made him see, like, because see, the subconscious mind is always communicating to us through, like sometimes you may have a headache and we may take a medicine for headache, but it is actually a communication that there is something you need to address. It could be that. So we're actually kind of silencing the messenger.
Yeah.
But we need to address the root cause. So when this, with this particular person, after we took care of all the other aspects, we did one procedure. And that procedure was where we made him see the two paths in front of him, the path where he is free from this addiction and what all possibilities can open up in his career, his family, because he was brilliant and he had so much of potential in him and how his life will be like. And we made him simulate that there is a particular process we do that. And then we also made him see the other path where if he continue this addiction, what would happen? And he could actually see the consequences of what can happen if he had continued this way. His legs started trembling. And that trembling legs was it was a signal from his subconscious mind that this is a path you're going. That one procedure, after we did everything else, helped him come out completely of his addiction. In fact, we met him last week on a Zoom call. I think it is like 90 days since he has touched any alcohol. And he says he's very happy, very proud. He's got a promotion. He had done his CFA level 1 and 2 10 years back and he had left it. Now he's pursuing the final level. And in fact, he was saying how powerful that experience has been. Yeah.
Yeah. Subbu has added it is now 6 months free from alcohol. Thank you for sharing that. So, since you said that, we work with people who map the brain and then before and after, can you actually see the differences on that brain scan or on those results which come out?
Yeah, because it is all about neuroplasticity. Like when we create new neural pathways, there we can actually, so that can be seen on the brain scan.
Yeah. So for somebody who is, you say there are some people who are born leaders, or this guy was, destined to be great and, successful. And then you gave the examples of when we were growing up, our mothers will tell us, paise jhaadpur nahi utte, there is no such thing as easy money and all that. How do we tell parents or partners or, spouses how to communicate or how not to communicate, or how to communicate better?
See, sometimes children can be very difficult to manage. Now I'm talking like with as parents and children.
Yeah.
I think what I would say is the most difficult children are the ones who need the most understanding.
Hmm.
If we see it from that frame,
Yeah.
and if they feel understood, you can build layered relationships. When I say layered relationships, so even with my children, I have children who are like in their early 20s. Teenage was not an easy time for them too. But what we have reached, the space we are in is where I can be a mother, I can be a mentor, I can be a friend, I can be a confidant. So when we have these layered relationships, when one layer is weak, the other layer will kind of support and hold it together. So I think what is very important is for parents is to put yourself in the shoes of the child and see their world from their world.
I remember when I speak to my children, and sometimes you will tell them something to do this or not to do this, or I'll try to give them my opinion. They'll tell me, don't talk like you are a professional speaker and you're speaking to an audience. We are your children, we are not your audience. So that clearly that objection comes up when they are
Yes.
talking
In
to us or we are talking.
fact, the words we use or sometimes the tone we use, they become a negative
Yeah.
anchor to the point where, even if well-meaning we speak to
Yeah.
not just to children, but to anybody,
Yeah.
even in the
Yeah.
adult world,
Yeah.
the neurology just cuts off.
Yeah.
And it's just going on wasted years.
Nowadays, any discussion that is happening, whether it is relevant or not, there can't not be a question about AI. So let's say, I'm feeling low, or, I want to break this addiction. All I can do is, go and reach out to an AI, list up my symptoms, tell them this is what I'm feeling, and help me, diagnose me, and correct me. Why would I want to go to Jessica or Subramanian?
I love that question, Deepak. Okay. In fact, in the work that we do use something called predictive intelligence. And in fact, I want to give credit for this to Anton and Harini, who are also my mentors. And there's a lot. So predictive intelligence is where, like, as consultants, when we do a diagnostics, when we look at a person, we calibrate, we mirror, we collect data points. And based on that, just like how an AI works, we are able to predict what can be the trajectory of that person's life and what must happen to give them so if they are in a trajectory like T1, which could be going at a particular way, but if they have the potential to be a T4, what must happen, what strategic changes at a belief, at a capability levels must happen for them to be able to go at that level. So in a way, we also do the work of an AI, but the difference, what an AI cannot do and what we do is the human calibration. Because see, when I look at a person, in our team, when we look at a person, we are able to calibrate even the micro muscle movements of the person. Like when somebody comes with a conflict, they're saying, I want to do this, but I'm not able to do it. We calibrate the language they use, the word but, and anything you say after the word but shows there is a conflict. And when there is a conflict, it's interesting. It shows on a physiology. There could be one part of your face that has a particular, like, your jaws may be up, it may be, so there's a misalignment. So when we do the human calibration, we're able to calibrate all of that. I don't think AI has reached there yet.
Again, you've been talking about real life examples, people you have worked with, and you said we will go on an individual case to case basis to understand what problem they have, what blocks are there, and probably give them a customized solution that this is how you will get treated or how you will become better. Can this be introduced as a small subject or a topic, or as an educational series, probably to students in schools or colleges, or maybe even something for parents?
Yeah, we could definitely do that. In fact, right now we have been working more with CXOs and leaders at that level, but we can definitely, we have worked with students too, and definitely that's something we can look at.
Yeah, clearly there will be some classic cases like, students' fear of examination or going blank,
Yes.
yeah,
In
submitting
fact,
a blank paper.
in fact, Deepak, that story about that girl I said, who's now on her way to being a doctor, when I heard about what she was going through, like what occurred to me is her story needs to be told to the world, because unwittingly, parents, teachers, people, we create so much of pain. We crush the human spirit, and like we crush our capabilities in children, in people. And yeah, it is something that definitely the world needs to know. And I think the starting point is the awareness of what is the impact of our words on the people around us.
Yeah. Again, what you or both of you or all of you are doing is outside traditional modern science. A doctor, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, goes through some training, some study, and then they get a degree, and then they, write out a medicine or whatever. You are doing something which is a little bit outside that. Have you ever, got some sort of an objection or resistance from somebody who's in the medical space, in the medical field, say a doctor? And let's take that example of your husband, where, he was on medications for 6 months, which wasn't needed. How do you convince that doctor or tell that doctor what you are doing is wrong and I can help that person better?
Okay, so let me tell you, in my husband's case, my journey was just starting, because in fact that's what started this journey for me. So I was not probably as equipped then, but thanks to that, what happened, I'm here and helping people. But
Yeah.
what I can tell you is the story of that girl who I said was on strong medication. Her doctor had told her that if she stops any medication, like, there'll be serious consequences. And
Yeah.
he wanted her to continue. While we were doing our work, when she went for her review, when the doctor saw the changes in her, he couldn't believe it. He actually couldn't believe it. And he told her, like, he reduced the medication, but he said, like, but somewhere he was in a denial, like, is it really possible?
Not possible. Yeah, yeah. The reduction also may be actually scientific. You need to get the body weaned out of medications rather than, probably stopping it overnight. Maybe,
Yeah,
not only.
so we
Yeah,
definitely, when we work with people who are on medication, we don't stop it overnight. It has to be
yeah,
weaned.
yeah.
It has to be weaned out in a way, along with the work that we do.
At this point, if there is anybody from the audience who would like to say something, ask, please unmute yourself and go ahead. Hari, sir.
Deepak, you are asking the process. You need to go through the process.
Yeah.
Because each individual has a different wiring. And you cannot create one set of wiring for everybody in this world, number one.
Yes.
Number two, how the wiring has happened from your birth till your age today,
Mm.
and what has gone into you from age 0 to 10 is already installed.
Yeah.
Now, how do you remove that and install a fresh set of beliefs,
Mm.
a fresh set of why into
Yes.
you is very
Yeah.
important.
Yes.
So knowing the process, doing the process is for each individual.
Yeah.
And unless you meet them and they open out and tell them why they do what they do,
Mm.
it's not easy.
Yeah.
So I know you wanted to put Jessica on the corner, but she came out beautifully out of that, because unless you do the process, you will not know what set of questions hit you hard or don't hit you. So my take is each individual has to go through the process, and they have got some great questions to ask, and you need to answer them so that you get rewired. And each one of us can do it. I just came back from BKC, my Atharva. I was on the way back while I was listening. So even your muscles of your body, they need to be strengthened through a particular process.
Yeah.
You can't say do this process for everybody in this world.
Yeah.
So hats off to these two people for creating a process, and for which you need to go to them, then ask them before they write a book, which goes whatever bestseller globally.
Yeah.
You need to go to them, indulge with them, open out with them, share, care, listen, learn, and grow, and become the person you were born to be.
Wonderful.
That's
Wonderful.
my
Thank you.
take on it.
Thank
And
you
I'm
for
loving
sharing
the
that.
way these people are doing it. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Ravi.
yeah. And your part about, me pushing her in the corner. Actually, if you were sitting with me on the screen, she's right there in the center and I'm there right in the corner, the Zoom screen. So that's what I can see from here.
I'm
Kapilji.
loving the conversation. And secondly, I am also loving Subbu being silent and sending his messages on the screen.
I will give him the last word before we end. That is something which he truly deserves. So before we log off, he will definitely have the last
Sure.
word. Over to you, Kapilji.
Thank you so much. First of all, I just wanted to appreciate for this inspiring and a very deep session, because many of us would resonate with it. Especially we say it's all in the mind,
Yeah.
and it's a body is part of energy, and there's a chemistry inside. So very much appreciate and connect to what has been said. And I think I just wanted to add one point when we talk of the medicine. So
Yeah.
this is something like when doctors put you on steroid,
Yeah.
then they gradually take you up on the steroid medication and bring you down gradually, because your body will otherwise it will not adjust.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add that perspective here. So with that, thank you very much. Very impressive.
Thank you. Thank you, Kapilji.
Deepak, just a minute.
Yes, Harish sir.
Law of attraction is all about matching vibrations.
Yes.
And when you match vibrations,
Yes.
you attract more of what you want and less of what you don't want.
Yeah.
So it's all a combination of all this.
Right.
And I'm happy that it has added a lot of value to me listening to them. And I shall surely say it's a process which we need to go through.
Yes.
And rewired is the only word that I can look at.
Yes. Happy to be the messenger here, Harish sir. Over to you, Subbu. Last word before I officially close.
No, I just wanted to add that I enjoyed the session. Although Jesse and me work together on neurogetics and the other work that we do with energetics in the larger space. Yeah, I think neurogetics is something that I have been pleasantly surprised, and it keeps surprising us in its ability to bring about change in people. And it's interesting that neuroscience has always been saying that the body has the intelligence. In fact, even science, medical science, says that the body has enough intelligence to heal itself.
Yes.
And we ignore all of it
Mm.
and go to the doctor. Now, I'm not saying don't go to the doctor,
Yeah.
but the fact that we have given up, or we don't even remember that our body is such a super intelligent mechanism system
Mm. Yeah.
that can do so many things that we have forgotten.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, in this world, I would say nothing is impossible.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for what both of you are doing. Thank you, Jessica, for joining us on a Sunday afternoon at 12:30 India time. And it's 1 hour plus. It's gone by. We've had these wonderful question and answers, and people from the audience chipping in and sharing their stories and their questions too. Thank you, everybody, for joining and staying till the end. Very rarely till we close do we have a full house, which is the case today. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Thank you, Abhijit, for your questions. Thank you, everyone. Hoping to see you again next Sunday on the 257th Non-Stop Sunday Bloom Talk Show. Till then, God bless us all. See you there next Sunday.
Bye.
Thank you.